Miyamoto Musashi was more than a legendary swordsman, he was a seeker of truth. After defeating over 60 opponents in deadly duels and earning the title of Japan's greatest samurai, Musashi made a radical shift. At the height of his fame, he walked away from the battlefield, choosing solitude over glory and introspection over violence. This wasn't a retreat, it was an awakening. Musashi's transformation from warrior to philosopher is one of the most powerful spiritual arcs in history. He realized that true mastery doesn't come from conquering others, but from conquering the self. In the quiet stillness of his later years, he penned Dokkōdō, the way of walking alone, a set of 21 profound life principles rooted in clarity, discipline, and spiritual detachment. His journey reflects a deeper truth. Power without inner peace is hollow. In a world obsessed with achievement and noise, Musashi's life reminds us that the highest path is not always forward but inward. Sometimes, the real battle is not fought with swords, but with silence. The Dokkōdō, known as the way of walking alone, is not a cold list of do's and don'ts. It is a profound invitation from a man who had tasted victory, fame, and the brutality of war, only to discover that what truly remains is returning to what is real. Miyamoto Musashi, in his final days, stripped away illusions. His 21 principles are not moral sermons, they are quiet awakenings. He doesn't tell you to become a good person by society's standards. Instead, he gently dismantles every mask we wear: status, possessions, desires, emotions, even the fear of death, reminding us that true living begins where clinging ends. In today's world, the battlefield looks different, but the chaos is the same. We carry smartphones instead of swords, seek validation instead of honor, and chase dopamine instead of presence. And yet, the Dokkōdō saw this coming centuries ago. To apply Musashi's path now is to quietly rebel. Accept things as they are without illusion or denial. Let go of the endless chase for pleasure. Detach from titles, from materialism, from fleeting emotions. Release the fear of death and live fully in the moment. Instead of asking, "Am I doing the right thing?" ask, "Am I living truthfully?" Because when you live truthfully, not swayed by likes, expectations, or desires, something unexpected happens, inner quiet. Not because life gets easier, but because your soul stops begging for permission to be itself. Dokkōdō doesn't promise happiness. It offers something deeper, unshakable freedom. The kind no one can give you. The kind no one can take away. The kind you meet alone, but never lonely, just awake. In a world that teaches you to chase, compare, and conquer, Musashi's Dokkōdō feels almost radical. But here lies its power. The spirit of letting go in his path is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is liberation. Letting go is not giving up on life. It is giving up the illusions that make life heavier than it needs to be. Let go of the past not because it didn't matter, but because carrying it endlessly only deepens the wound. Musashi's wisdom reminds us that the pain is not always in what happened, but in how tightly we cling to it. When we stop turning regret into identity, the present begins to breathe again. Let go of envy and resentment, not because others deserve your silence, but because you deserve your peace. In a society that rewards comparison, jealousy becomes second nature. But Musashi warns, when you measure your worth by someone else's life, you abandon your own path. Let go of empty pleasure, not because joy is wrong, but because endless craving is a trap. In modern life, instant gratification is everywhere: screens, sugar, attention. But chasing pleasure for its own sake never satisfies. It distracts, it numbs, and eventually, it exhausts. Musashi invites us to find a deeper kind of joy, the quiet kind that comes from self-respect, discipline, and alignment. So how do we apply this today? We begin small. When regret rises, pause. Ask, is this helping me heal or keeping me stuck? When envy whispers, breathe. Remember, their journey is not your mirror. When cravings hit, observe. Say, This pleasure is temporary. Is it worth my peace? Living this way is not easy. That neither is carrying the weight of everything you cannot control. Dokkōdō shows us that simplicity is not the absence of depth, but its purest expression. In a noisy, overstimulated culture, Musashi's principles are a return to inner sovereignty, a reminder that strength is not loud, that peace is not passive, and that freedom begins not when we gain more but when we finally let go, because the most profound victory is not over others, but over the self that once believed it needed more to be whole. In Musashi's Dokkōdō, freedom is not found in escape, it's found in awakening. Inner freedom is not a destination we reach when everything is perfect. It's the strength to remain centered when nothing is. It's the quiet discipline of not chasing what the world tells us we should want, and instead returning to what truly matters. In American culture, we are taught to define success by achievement, image, and accumulation. But Musashi points us elsewhere. He says, the goal is not perfection, but clarity. Not status, but presence. Not external freedom, but inner sovereignty. To live like this in modern life means waking up each day and asking, am I living from my own truth or from someone else's script? It means noticing how often we run on autopilot, reacting to expectations, scrolling to numb discomfort, hustling to earn validation. We confuse being busy with being alive, but deep down, we know the difference. Inner freedom is when you stop outsourcing your peace. It's when you no longer let circumstances dictate your self-worth. It's saying, I can feel anger without becoming it. I can feel fear without obeying it. I can be in chaos and still remain clear. This isn't detachment, it's strength. This isn't indifference, it's discipline. And it's profoundly practical. When someone criticizes you, you pause instead of retaliating. When you feel the urge to prove yourself, you remember you have nothing to prove. When everyone around you is chasing more, you choose stillness and discover you already have enough. This way of being isn't loud. It won't win applause. But it creates something far more enduring, self-respect. And in time, that self-respect becomes the foundation for a life that is rooted, real, and unshakable. So what does it mean to follow Musashi's path today? It means daring to live slowly in a world that worships speed. It means protecting your energy the way others protect their bank accounts. It means saying no, not out of rebellion, but out of clarity. And most of all, it means remembering that the ultimate form of success is peace. Because in the end, the freest person isn't the one who controls everything. It's the one who no longer needs to. The path of Musashi is not a retreat from life, but a deeper return to it. Across every principle in Dokkōdō, we are reminded that the true battle is not with the world, but with the self, the restless, reactive self that clings, craves, compares, and forgets its own center. In a society like ours where achievement is currency, and busyness is virtue, it's easy to lose touch with what matters. We chase comfort, applause, and identity through status, sensory pleasure, and emotional reaction. But Musashi whispers a different truth. Peace is not something you find. It is something you remember when you stop chasing. Each principle is an invitation to accept life as it is, rather than fight it. To stop searching for happiness in short-term thrills, and instead find meaning in long-term alignments. To pause before reacting, to feel without being consumed. To think less of yourself, but more of life. To live with reverence, not rush. The message is simple, but radical. Let go. Not out of passivity, but out of wisdom. Detach. Not to feel less, but to feel more deeply, more clearly. Live lightly, not to escape, but to walk freely. So what does this look like in real life? It means waking up and choosing clarity over chaos. It means making decisions, not from fear or impulse, but from grounded values. It means measuring your worth not by what you own or achieve, but by how still you remain when the world shakes. You don't need to renounce everything or live in the mountains to follow this path. You only need the courage to ask, what am I clinging to that no longer serves me? Where have I traded depth for distraction? And who might I become if I dared to let go? In truth, Dokkōdō is not a philosophy of withdrawal. It's a call to inner mastery, a blueprint for sovereign living. It reminds us that to be truly free is to no longer be owned by things, by praise, by fear, or by ego. And in that freedom, we return to the only place where life is ever real. This moment, this breath, this self unshaken, aware, and finally, enough. So in a culture that tells you to want more, be more, do more, Musashi invites you to be less but be whole. Walk simply, love deeply, detach gently. And in doing so, find that the most powerful way to live is not to fight life, but to move with it. Because when you live from that still center, you don't need to conquer the world. You have already conquered yourself. Thank you for being here.